I saw a comment today on LinkedIn that said, "Yes to the wild one still dreaming." And it was a comment in response to a post about the creative revolution, one that, according to the author, is already upon us. And that got me so curious, and I feel excited because what if what if what if there is a creative revolution and it's happening? And I love the sound of the words creative revolution because revolutions sound pretty cool, right? Because usually it's about taking back our power, our personal power, the power of the people. Um, Hopefully empowering revolutions. And with the word creative, it feels like something that is very, very far away from any sort of violence or anything like that, but it still feels important and like an act of rebellion to engage in creativity, to create and not just consume, right? There's so much to consume media, materialistic things, just all sorts of stuff, right? Most of which are created by corporations and marketed in a way so that, people, are convinced into buying or watching or staying, consuming, are convinced into consuming more than, they might actually want or need, at the very least. Well, back to creativity. I love creativity. I'll admit I don't feel it every single day, but I have a question on my mind about whether or not creativity is a feeling, because it might be. Because sometimes when I feel creative, I feel it. It's a different feeling than other feelings. I can't say that I would call it an emotion. Maybe not, but I would definitely place it in the realm of feeling. What do you think? And yeah, for the past 2 weeks, there have definitely been days where I did not get that much sleep and did not at all feel any ability to think, which made me not really creative for those days, which is okay. You don't have to be creative every single day. I don't have to be creative every single day, but I have had days where I have been creative. So look at my drawings. I'm really excited to show them. So this one took like hours. By hours, I mean like probably 12 hours, maybe 15. I love it so much. It reminds me of so many little things that when I was originally drawing it, I wasn't planning for it to remind me of things like a carousel with swings on it, or a campfire, or like this vase that looks very ornately decorated. But it feels like this little land, like a setting where a whole story could take place if I wanted to write one. And imagine if there's like imaginary, or not even imaginary, just like creatures that you can't see are in this picture. Because, these carousel swings, maybe they can like go up and down, but they're clearly up right now and they're swinging around. And it looks like there's no one on it, but what if there is? And, you don't see a bridge or a particular pathway in order to get from like the green grass path onto the campfire or onto those logs. But what if these invisible creatures can fly? And what if, there's a way to go over here. So like you go up the stairs, right? And then you can slide down these poles to the ground, or you can keep sliding down all the way this way. Yeah, I feel like there's a whole story that can exist. There's little fireflies flying around, and I consider this done. There is a part of me that wanted to make more. So like I taped more paper this way and that away. Have I added anything to those pieces of papers? I did, but I erased it because I didn't like it. So I think maybe it's done. But I'll keep those blank pieces of paper there in case I decide to one day. And here we have a rainbow tree. Or not. I don't know. It could be like a cave. We'll see. Now this, I originally started drawing as a pretty realistic piece. And by realistic, I don't mean like, oh my gosh, it looks like a photograph. Clearly, that's not my level of technique yet, or artistry. But here we have a railroad, and there's this girl, and there's this river, and there's trees, and there's grass. And originally, that's all that there was there. But I was having a hard time continuing to draw anything. I was like, well, I have this memory of walking on a railroad, like an empty, abandoned railroad near a forest, and I started drawing something like that memory, but it wasn't fun trying to just draw the memory. And then I started adding all these things, like this door that's kind of like the night sky. And then I was like, well, maybe I can make every single one of these entrances a different door. And I don't have to make the doors something that I think matches some sort of theme or anything. They can just be doors that I think should be there, that I want to be there. And I'm like, what if this is just a picture of like all the different worlds I feel like I can explore in my own imagination? And you can clearly see that there's also these kind of ladders and things that I'm starting to draw on the trees so that you can get around everywhere. So it doesn't feel like you just have to stay on the ground, even if you can't fly. But yeah, I'm excited. And there's this little upside down umbrella on the river, and that's because I once imagined this lazy river that had boats made of upside down umbrellas that was circling this floating hot air balloon inside of a library. And I still love that image so much that I wanted to add this upside down umbrella here because it feels so me. And also I have an upside down umbrella, one that opens reversely, if you've ever seen or heard of that. I'll put a link in the description of this video to like what I mean. But I love that umbrella, and it has the night sky on it. And this little teacup thing slash balloon slash window slash kind of reminds me of a Cheshire cat slash kite thing. I adore it. I don't know what it is. It just makes me like think about all these different things in one, and it's quite simple of composition. Oh, and then there's this little creature over here. He's like a splatter of paint. I think he's just going to be, maybe not paint, maybe ink. I used to read about that creature when I was younger in some Russian books, and I loved him. He was really fun. Maybe I'll find those books one day. But my point with showing this is that I was stuck when I wanted it to be reality. And I got completely unstuck when I was like, well, let's throw all of that out the window. And there's this really, really funny video or animation that someone made where it's like, out the window. I will link that in the description here because I really like that video. I'm so excited about creativity and art and, breaking out of like the cage that we put ourselves in, or that school tries to teach us to stay in. You know how when we have lines on paper and they teach us to write in the, like, between the lines, it's really meant only to constrain our handwriting, to physically just constrain the handwriting. It's not meant to literally, we're not meant to take the lines too literally and let them also constrain our thoughts, but we often do. We often let those lines become more than just for our writing. We let them have too much power. And I don't like that. I don't like that so many people are taught to, constrain their thoughts, or that we have to write in a linear manner, even, because writing mind maps and posters and going like all like this on a blank piece of paper is also so much fun. And I just wish that we would all learn that we can do that. Not that we have to, not that it's the only way, right? Because lined paper is cool. It does help us write in a line. It's just, there's so many infinite ways to write and to create. And it's the lines are just one of them. I really hope that as part of this creative revolution, shall it exist, let's say it does, let's say we are here, then, I hope part of it is that everyone comes to realize that you can do more things than what paper or lined paper invites you to. Even lined paper, you can write in so many different ways, but we forget. I just want everyone to remember that there's more freedom than you think, and you have choices you can make, and you have experiments you can try and play with. And, I have tried so many experiments, and it makes it so much fun, makes writing so much fun for me. I do all this drawing, and I don't usually think too much when I draw. It usually just appears, and I find it really funny because I always like to say that I can draw things that I can't see, but I can't draw the things that I can see. So, like, I'm not really good at realistic things, or even drawing the things in my imagination. I can try to describe them. I don't think I have the skills to draw them, but when I do draw, I usually draw something that I didn't even imagine. I don't know where it came from. It just appeared, and it's so much fun. But the same thing happens with writing and with a story. You can start somewhere, and you can end up somewhere you didn't even realize you weren't planning to end up in, and it's so much fun. Why am I talking about this? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Just wanted to. Because I'm excited about the creative revolution, and I count myself in. So I count being creative, or not even being creative, but doing something creative. I think of it as rebellion. I think of it as genuine and important rebellion against the compulsory education system and a society that wants so many people to be alike and go to 9-to-5 jobs. I know we're breaking a lot of that, especially like Gen Z. We're like, no, we don't want 9-to-5 jobs. Why would we want to sit in an office until like we're 75 or 65, but probably 75, and like only then get to live our lives? We're like, why? Why would what? No. We're like, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. We're going to find other things to do and other ways to exist and to find more joy in life and be more creative and create things, not just take things as they're given to us. And I'm really excited for all of that. And yeah, I guess whoever's watching this, if you're watching this for some reason, or not for some reason, welcome. And I hope you'll try something creative and join the creative revolution. And hey, if you're looking for writing exercises to try, I think we're not that far from me being able to share some of the exercises and experiments with writing that I have done. Because when I really think about what things I'm passionate about, and I feel like, it's good to do once in a while, especially because think about how awesome the world would be if we all engaged more in the things we were passionate about. And, that gave us joy and that we're creative. Because actually, backtrack for 1 second. I'm going to add this really cool thing. I read and heard that creativity has the power to, extinguish fear in the brain, and joy as well. It's like creativity uses the same part or area of the brain that fear does. And so if you're fearful or anxious, you can't be creative. But the opposite is true, that if you're engaging something creative and creativity, then you can't be anxious or fearful. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why, no one told me this before? I had so much anxiety in high school. It was unbelievable. There was a month in my senior year of high school where I had a panic attack every single day as soon as I came home from school. It was, or maybe it was even in school at that point. I don't even know. I don't think it stopped for like a whole month. The anxiety versus / panic. And who knows why? Maybe it was winter and I was in sports, so I would come to school, it would be dark, and I would leave school and it would be dark, and I wanted to be outside and in the trees, and just it felt very who knows what. It was an odd time. But point is, so much anxiety, right? And very little encouragement to actually be creative and do creative things, because most of the time in school they just have you fill out worksheets and follow directions very specifically, and they try to teach you to have specific responses to authority and follow things, like listen and do things exactly as you're told. And my family is a family of chemists and scientists, practically, at least the ones I grew up with physically in the house, and wasn't encouraged to be very, creative with writing and art. The reason I do it is because I think humans just need to. I just realized that I can't without it. Life doesn't make sense without making art and being creative. When you feel pulled to, when you want to express something, or, and I think that if I knew earlier that creativity has the power to extinguish fear, it would have been so powerful. It's powerful right now. And if you've never heard of this, then isn't that amazing? Isn't that absolutely amazing? And shouldn't we just tell all of our kids that, especially once we get to teenager years and life is so confusing and loud and hard, and just having more spaces that encourage creativity could do so much, could make such a big difference in people feeling anxiety. And I'm just like, wow, it feels like it's simple when you hear it, and I think that's amazing. So let's engage in creativity, right, as a way to challenge, battle, combat fear, anxiety. The world has enough of that. The media encourages enough of that. We don't need any more fear and anxiety. We need more creativity, and we need more joy. in our lives. We don't have to make our lives hard and miserable. So, yeah, there's definitely, in some places in the world, like such as New York City, there's definitely a societal sort of acceptance or agreement that you have to work hard, that your life kind of has to be miserable in a way. Like, if you're not working so hard that like you can't, that you're like not sleeping and barely eating and like who knows what, then it's like you're not working hard enough. Like, you have to be drained in order for it to be in order for you to count as like genuinely working enough. And it's like, no, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. So, yeah, to me it feels obvious. It feels really obvious. But I realized that, hey, maybe it's not to everyone. And maybe I should talk about it more so that whoever is there, whoever this isn't obvious to, might find it and be like, wait a minute, there's other ways of, life or perspective or something, and maybe this will feel better to you than the other perspective of just, a 9 to 5 for sure, or working so hard that you drain yourself, I don't know. I think sometimes I kind of find it funny how the world ended up with so many people in that state, because I think, like, when I really think about it, I'm like, well, that's gotta really not feel good. Not like it's really, how long do you have to be in it to convince yourself that, that way of life feels good and is actually what you want, and even that there's like no way out of it, because we just forget, I guess, right? Or people forget. So anyway, if I ever forget, I'll have this video of myself talking about it, and other videos of me, which I really like, that I can just watch and remember. And I'm sure if I ever forget, I'll find it again, which is always great. Yeah. So back to writing. If you don't like drawing, totally cool. Though there's so many fun experiments you could do with that, even if, if you say you don't know how to draw, that's fine. You don't have to know how to draw. I didn't take particular classes or anything about drawing. I just started one day because it was fun, and that was it. I even have a bunch of scribbles as well, which, let me see. Can I find some? This is a little bit more scribbly, but this is the one that did lead to this one, which is a little bit less scribbly. This is my memories of some awesome playground. This one, little more scribbly. I think I've got some others. My point is, you can be scribbly and still draw and have fun. And then, yeah, I definitely have a few drawing experiments I can share that I think are fun, but more than that, writing is my thing. Creative writing is so my thing. I have written for so many years, and I have done so many fun writing experiments, and I really, really hope to build out something with that, or to be able to share it more, or to find people who want to do creative writing. But I have a very specific area that I think I can offer, which is, it's not like content creation, right? Because I know a lot of people want content creation, but I'm not just going to go around asking people what they want and then give it to them. Instead, I'm going to do what I know I can offer and then find the people who want that. So eventually we'll get there. But here's my draft of that, because talking about it and practicing these stories and practicing explaining what you're passionate about and what feels good to you is also amazing, because you'll be ready when you need it. If you never practice and some opportunity or something comes along, you're not going to be ready. So I encourage you to try making a video as well, talking about something you're passionate about, just explaining what that passion is. And also, if you can offer something to someone, like to teach them how to do it or whatever, practice explaining that. So that's my challenge to you, if you're watching this. So here's my practice round. Here's the area of creative writing that I can offer. So because I've been writing for so long, and I've been writing primarily for myself, I have gotten to play around with it. There were no rules, there were no grades, there were no structures. And I realized that thing I was talking about earlier in this video, where you don't have to write in a specific way all the time. It doesn't have to be linear, it doesn't have to be in paragraphs. It doesn't have to be like, I don't know, anything that they possibly told you in school that it has to be. And in finding a way to play around with it, I have all these, okay, I don't like the way this is going. Let me restart. Let me tell you about creative writing, and let me tell you about me and creative writing and what I can do. I can break the cage. I can break the cage, for anyone who wants it broken, of making the lines on a lined piece of paper take on too much power, where the lines on a lined piece of paper, this was going better when I didn't say that I was going to try to practice, right? Which is really funny. But here's what okay, let's skip that. If you still want to try making the video where you practice explaining it, then do it. I'm just going to skip that for a moment. I'm just going to talk about something that I imagine that maybe in the future I'll be able to do, because I think it's really cool. So I really hope maybe one day in the future I'll find a group of people that is willing to show up to a meeting, let's say like once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, so like twice a month, for a couple months on end. And the whole goal of that group, I guess creative writing workshop in a way, would be to get everyone to a place where they feel that a blank page is inviting rather than intimidating, where they see a blank page and they're so excited, where they have so many different experiments they can try if they want to, where they know all the ways in which they can use writing to support themselves. Because I think writing is absolutely magical. I think there's so much magic in writing, in storytelling, and that we can use writing to help us in any given moment in life. It can be for something business related or content creation, but it doesn't have to be. It could also be very personal, just a question you have or a decision you're having trouble making, or just something that you feel but you don't know what it is, or that you want to express but you don't know what it is. You can use writing to help you in all these scenarios. And I have used it for that. And so I can tell you firsthand that, I have examples of stories I've written that will show you that this really has helped me a lot. And I think that every single blank page is kind of like a door, which is actually how we ended up with making so many doors in this drawing. Because I think a lot about doors and blank pages and the beauty of a blank page. And I wrote this poem once, which kind of goes like this, like, open a door, see what you haven't before. Imagine a world unimaginable, from one door to the next. Each holds within the unique possibility to or not to exist. It could be an idea or just empty space that takes you to a new path that you get to create. And then it's like a door is a second, a minute, a day, a lifetime, a memory, a page, one turn away. Imagine if we saw every blank page as a door where the unknown was waiting for us to explore it, where it was exciting to explore it and not just sitting there staring at us like, what is this, right? And I imagine that in this workshop, first we would spend time getting to know each other. Like, everyone would get to know like what is your writing experience, but also what's important to you as a person, your values in life. And that way, you know, there's some trust being built there. And we would practice writing. I have so many experiments. Like, for example, an experiment where you leave the first page blank. We get a notebook, we leave the first page blank. Always. We go to the second page. We always start at the second page. Then you can't ever mess up. Because if you leave the first page blank, you can always go back and write it, and you never have to write it, but it's always in its like perfect state because there's nothing there. Or the experiment where you write a story where a character is facing the same challenge as you and see what they do. Or the experiment where we make a whole journal that says nothing in here is allowed to be perfect. It has to be messy, and it's for no one else to see, but we create it, and inside of it we have to draw messy lines and imperfect circles, and we have to practice it and cross things out. It's a big principle. You can cross things out and rewrite. You can. And we would try all these different experiments, and we would try having this character that you're just having a dialogue with, essentially, as if they're writing back at you. Like that one I've done so many times, and it's so much fun whenever you need a back and forth, but you don't have a person to have a back and forth with. And it's like exploring this entire world of writing. If you want, you can create an entire world, which you enter whenever you write. I have my own. And also, if anyone would like to be invited there, I can invite you there and show you around. We have an island named Leka, Leka, where stories are made, and you know, there's all these other continents, and it's on this planet, which is the 13th planet in this whole galaxy, and you know, it's fun to explore. And there's this non-spinning black hole creature, and there's a forest, right? And so many other cool things. And I just love exploring it sometimes because even I don't know what's there. But the point is I show up, and, you know, the other characters show me what's there. And it's so much fun to explore. And in this writing workshop, I would read stories that I have written, each one which is an example of one of the experiments that we're going to do. And so we can all together practice the experiments, share any reflections either about it or share the actual writing thing that we have tried. And I feel like as time goes on, it's not even just going to be trying specific experiments that I list out, but people really getting to a point of being able to create experiments themselves. Because some of the experiments that I can offer to share for you guys to try, for people to try, is, you know, they're experiments I've created myself, that I've tried myself. Maybe they exist in the internet, but if they do, I can tell you that I didn't find most of them on the internet. It was just fun playing around with a blank page, and it's almost a scientific approach to it because it's just experiments, which when you call something an experiment, it's okay if it goes well or it doesn't. The point is you try it. That's what scientists do. They don't know what's going to happen. They just try it. And, you know, everyone knows that it might work and it might not, and it's okay because that's what an experiment is inherently. And I feel like that would be so much fun. And I really look forward to one day doing that. I'm just going to put that out there to this void of the internet. So, yeah.